MSW Media.
So yeah, now it's clean up on aisle 45 time. And for a long while yet, it is going to be clean up on aisle 45.
Hey, everybody. Welcome to episode 246 of Clean Up on Aisle 45. It's Wednesday, October 8th, 2025. Lots is going on today on October 8th. Just in the news in general, there's going to be another press conference with Epstein survivors on the discharge petition to release the Epstein files today with Massey and Khanna and Green. Yeah. And then we're also going to, they moved up Jim Comey's arraignment to today instead of tomorrow, citing security concerns at the courthouse. So lots going on today, October 8th, but we have a bunch of other stuff to cover from the prior week. I'm Allison Gill.
Yeah, lots of other stuff to talk about, HE. Hey, y'all, it's Harry Dunn here. So amongst those things that we got to talk about is breaking news that federal prosecutors in the Eastern District of Virginia find none probable cause to indict New York Attorney General Leticia James for mortgage fraud. But meanwhile, subpoenas have been issued in a criminal investigation against Fulton County DA Fani Willis.
Of course. Yeah. We talked about that a little bit last week, and we have an update on that big RICO case that she was disqualified from. And we're going to talk about that because, Judge McAfee gave the state agency responsible for finding a new DA 14 days, but they want more time. They're like, come on, we need more time, bro. So we're going to cover that. Plus, court battles continue over National Guard troops being sent to Portland and Chicago, and Rudy adjacent news.
Rudy adjacent news. Okay, that's still good. That's still good for us to talk about.
Yeah, and we're going to talk about the Democrats in Congress wanting to stop the payback for restitution for January 6th defendants.
Yes.
Which is a big deal. But we're going to get to all of that. But first, we have new patrons to thank. So thank you so much. If you want to sign up to become a patron, get these episodes ad-free and early. Join us every month on our Zoom happy hour call where you can ask us questions and hang out and chat and have cocktails and mocktails. Lots of cool benefits to being a patron. You can go to patreon.com/aisle45pod, AISLE45POD, and whatever name you choose, we will read on the air. So here are the new patrons. Fascism is the outcome of weakness. I love that. Richard Kalushchin. Hello, Richard. Perry Penderson, Shauna Lewandowski, Elaine Gionette, or Gionnet. I'm not sure how to pronounce that. And Clifford Cash.
Wow. Okay. Hey, Cliff.
Welcome, Cliff.
Welcome, everybody.
We need to get Cliff on the show. We need to bring him on.
That would be hilarious.
And talk about his protests against the corporate media conglomerates, Fox News takedowns and things like that. He's doing a lot of incredible stuff.
A lot of good work that he's doing.
Yeah. So welcome, everyone. And like I said, you can become a patron, patreon.com/aisle45pod. Okay, let's talk about what's going on with the lawsuits against Trump's deployment of the National Guard to Portland and Chicago. So, Harry, first of all, just a real quick timeline. And we've done a lot of discussions on this on Substack. There was a late night hearing last night.
Yes.
And I'm texting all of our friends who were trying to get into the hearing, including Adam Klasfeld and Anna Bauer and Katie Fang. And I said to them all, I'm like, what? You have a hearing at 7 p.m.? Not everyone's on cocaine. So we're trying to get into this hearing. And there was a lot of technical difficulties, but we all finally got in. And so this is in front of Judge Immergut, who is a Trump appointee. And on Saturday, she issued a temporary restraining order against the Oregon National Guard from being called up in Portland. So the DOJ took that as, we'll just send the California National Guard. And so then California joined the lawsuit and chimed in. And then when that happened, the Trump administration said, we'll just send the Texas National Guard. Greg Abbott won't say no. It's like Mikey from the Life commercial. He'll try anything.
He'll try anything.
Remember? And that's your 80s reference for today. And so, Judge Immergut said, all right, everybody in my courtroom, 10 p.m. Eastern, 7 p.m. Pacific time now. And she was pissed. She was like, the guy who was representing the DOJ, Harry, his name was Mr. Hamilton. And I can't count on one hand how many times she was like, Mr. Hamilton, are you trying to circumvent my order by coming in and saying, oh, but Your Honor, you just said the Oregon National Guard couldn't be deployed to Portland. So that we have a standing order to deploy California National Guard wherever we see fit. And she was like, Mr. Hamilton.
Mr. Hamilton.
My order was based on the fact that there is nothing on the ground that constitutes the deployment of the National Guard to Portland. There are 8 people out front of the ICE facility. One is dressed as a capybara. It is totally and fully not violent. There's no ravaged war zones or whatever the hell. And that's what my ruling is based on. That and violation of Title 10, federalization of the National Guard, and violations of the 10th Amendment of state sovereignty, right? To be able to police your own state. That's what my ruling was based on, not on whether it was the Oregon National Guard or the California National Guard or Bob's National Guard
or anybody.
Frick, right? So she said, all right, I'm going to issue a second temporary restraining order. And this time I'm going to say you can't send any National Guard, any to Portland. So that was what that emergency hearing was about. And again, that's a Trump-appointed judge.
Yeah. They're sick of the shit. Whoa. Yeah. Well, see, we're getting fired up. Yeah. But see, they're sick of it. And that's what this was all about. Did they really say it was 7 people out there? Was it? I mean, I know it's minuscule. It's nothing.
I think it's like 32 people or something like that.
So it's very minuscule. But like I said, this isn't about crime for them. This is about sending messages and owning the libs, So like, all right, is it a coincidence that the first National Guard they wanted to send outside of Portland was who? Gavin Newsom's National Guard? Because
they were basing it on the June memo to call out the National Guard in Los Angeles.
Yeah,
and they
weren't even really needed there, also.
Right, and the judge was like,
protest.
Last time I looked, Portland is not in Los Angeles, but
not in Los Angeles and not in need of National Guard help. So. You just mentioned the state sovereignty, which the Republicans seem to care so much about states' rights and everything like that.
When it comes to slavery and abortion and
when it comes to that, right? Come to states' rights. But when it comes to actually states policing and protecting their own, especially in blue states, that shit goes right out the window and it's total bullcrap. But I am really glad this Trump appointee, it sounds like you just said, sounds like she's frankly sick of it. They're making a mockery of her courtroom.
Yeah. And she was like, look, the spirit of my ruling is clear. I can't believe I have to spell this out for you and that you would engage in this gamesmanship. I'm paraphrasing, right? But this was her general feeling. Yeah. And she also asked multiple times, have things changed on the ground in Portland to warrant, or is there new evidence?
What am I missing
come
here?
Out to warrant? Has anything changed since Saturday when I said there's no need? Is there a need now? Do you have any evidence that there's a need now? And the DOJ wouldn't take that bait. They wouldn't make it. They could have built a case on, that things have changed on the ground. Look, we have new information about this. We have new information about that. But they didn't. And you know why? Because it's BS.
Yeah.
They would be making false representations to the court because we've seen the photos. Senator Wyden shared the video of what's going on out in front of the ICE facility in Portland. And like I said, there's a giant inflatable capybara and like a
Those
couple
things
of...
are cute, by the way. I love it.
They are amazing. Dude, they have
They're
taken protesting to an art form in Portland.
Yeah.
Everybody should be watching these videos. They're fantastic, but it's a very small group of very peaceful, crunchy people. And they're like, we're out here and we don't like ICE. And that's the end of it. So they would not build a case because the Trump administration has a long history of saying one thing to the public, of lying to the public, but representing something else in court altogether.
Well, that's like you just said, they don't want to make a misrepresentation about what's actually going on out there. And by not doing that, they also don't want to answer and say, no, nothing has changed or there is no, because that will piss off the Trump administration and Pam Bondi. That's who that will piss off. So they're kind of these prosecutors, these Trump appointed prosecutors are in a lose-lose situation when it comes to their credibility in court. And I, for one, could not be happier that they are in this trick bag and have no way of getting out of it. So good for that judge. Slapping them down and issuing that temporary restraining order.
Yeah,
agreed. But also, like I just said, the temporary restraining order, that's only temporary. When that expires, is it about 14 days usually?
Yep, temporary restraining orders, federal temporary restraining orders last 14 days. They can be extended once to add an additional 14 days. And in that time, the judge considers a more permanent resolution, like a preliminary injunction or a summary judgment permanent injunction. Those two things can be appealed to the Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals. But Trump took it upon himself to appeal a temporary restraining order to the Ninth Circuit to get it out of that judge's hands and take away her jurisdiction. But since new information came to light with the deployment of California and Texas National Guard, she snatched that jurisdiction right back and said, no, GTFO.
It's mine now. Yeah.
This is not at the Ninth Circuit, because that was another argument that the DOJ was trying to make. They've done this before, where they appeal a temporary restraining order, which is not the usual way that you do things. You have to wait till it's a more permanent injunction before you can appeal it to the Circuit Court of Appeals. But they do that to get it out of the judge's jurisdiction that they issued a decision and rendered a decision that they didn't like. And if there's no new information, that judge can't really do anything. Like this happened with Boasberg, or some of the, deportation things that have happened over in the DC circuit. But this had new information that allowed her to snatch that jurisdiction back and make this ruling. So that's really a good thing. She's a good judge.
That's the playbook what Donald Trump wants to do. And we saw it from a tweet of Stephen Miller Saturday, I think, and I'm going to read it word for word. The issue before is now is very simple and clear. There's a large and growing movement of left-wing terrorism in this country. It is well organized and funded, and it is shielded by far-left Democrat judges, prosecutors, and attorneys general. The only remedy is to use legitimate state powers to dismantle terrorism and terror networks. So he's calling out Democrat terrorism judges. And it just so happens that a Trump-appointed judge is the latest to slap down this DOJ's overgrab, complete power grab, attempted power grab to send the National Guard to Portland. So
yeah. And when Trump was asked about it in one of those, Yellowcopter conferenls where he's outside of a helicopter and he's yelling.
Yellowcopter. Hey, that
Yellowcopter.
is good. That is good.
Thanks.
Almost went over my head. I caught it.
Asked about the judge and Judge Emmergot's decision. He's like, I guess I appointed that judge. I don't know, but he's terrible. He's bad. He's a bad judge. Judge Emmergot is a woman. He doesn't even know what he's talking about. He is unfit, unwell. You saw that clip with Madeline Dean cornering Mike Johnson, saying, your boy is ridiculous. And it's dangerous. And Mike Johnson's all, well, but I like cheese. He doesn't have anything useful to say ever.
I also saw this. So Stephen Miller responded to Judge Emmergut, and Stephen Miller's response was, the judge preposterously and unlawfully enjoyed the federalizing of the Oregon National Guard to defend a federal facility under attack. Sending Guard already under federal control or Guard volunteered by another state for a federal mission were in no way impacted by the prior crazy ruling. In all cases, the decision rests solely with the president and commander-in-chief.
No, that is wrong.
100% wrong.
The president's decision to deploy the National Guard is reviewable. It's reviewable by the courts. Stephen Miller doesn't want it to be, but, wish in one hand, shit in the other, Stephen.
Hey, hello.
You can't always get what you want.
You can't get what you want, my friend.
It's reviewable. And also there was a hearing on Monday in front of Judge Perry, a Biden appointee, about the deployment in Chicago, because Chicago has sued to block the deployment of the Guard in their city because there are horrible atrocities being carried out by ICE.
It's very bad what's going on now in Chicago.
And so the government, it was Mr. Hamilton again. Mr. Hamilton arguing for the government. I guess he's the whipping boy this week. And he goes in there and says, look, we need another week to respond to this lawsuit from Illinois. And the judge said, no, because you're about to set foot on the ground there in Chicago. So you have until tonight, which is Wednesday night, to respond. And she's going to hold a hearing tomorrow, Thursday morning. So we'll be paying attention to that hearing. There's tons of people you can follow on social media who will be listening in on that hearing.
It's a lot of bad things happening in Chicago.
Yeah, it's bad.
I encourage if you just go in on any social media and a lot
it's
of times
all
when you say
incited
bad
by
things
ICE.
That's what I was just about to say. A lot of times when you say bad things happen in Chicago, you're thinking gang violence or, this is all being incited by ICE. And there were reports of them dropping out of Black Hawk helicopters in neighborhoods and zip tying 2 and 3-year-old children. They were in traffic, so they dropped smoke grenades to protesters and rolled up their windows so they could get out of traffic. Everything happening is being incited by ICE.
Yeah.
And I encourage everybody to be aware of what's going on because it could be coming to a city near you. Well, ain't no could be. It's unless you're in a ruby red Republican district, it's coming to a city near you.
Yeah. And Governor Pritzker even said, we can't, you have to be very careful with what the DHS says, because like this incident where a motorist was shot. Right. And DHS put out a statement through Tricia McLaughlin saying she boxed us in and rammed our car. And this other guy named Ruiz also rammed our car. And she had a semi-automatic weapon. And so that's what happened when she was shot. And she was fine. She drove herself to the hospital. And then the fire department stepped in and said she didn't drive herself. We found her on 29th and Pershing, and we took her to Mount Sinai Hospital. Yeah. So there's already conflicting reports with what DHS says. And then Governor Pritzker said, look, DHS, we have very little details about what actually happened, because DHS gets in there, puts out a statement about what their side of the story is, and then that gets shared across social media, and that's it. Their story becomes what happened before anybody actually gets a chance to investigate. And that's been true for everything from the shooting of the Dallas ICE facility to the death of Charlie Kirk to, and now we have, you brought up Stephen Miller. He was going after this judge in South Carolina. So was Hermeet Dillon.
And then what happened to her house?
Her house exploded. There was an explosion in her house. Her family was there. They got out to safety, jumped out of the home and got to safety. But they're going to try to spin this as well. And Stephen Miller's really mad about the fact that people reported on this before him or the DHS
got an opportunity
ICE
to get it. Put their
Kash
statements
Patel
out.
had an opportunity to write something on a bullet with a Sharpie and say, look, they're anti-fascist transgender brown foreigners from Antifa.
Unbelievable.
So, they were like, wait, Kash Patel's like sifting through the rubble, like, wait, I got to find the remnants of the bomb so I can write stuff, so I can write dem messages on them with a pen. So, and, I joke, and regardless of whether that happened or not, nobody trusts what the DHS and the FBI.
That's the point. Nobody trusts anything they say or anything that they're doing. So.
We had that journalist in Chicago hit with a chemical munition. She was just by herself, and the guy just fired right into her car. That horrible apartment raid in Chicago where they rappelled down from helicopters.
Is that the Black Hawk or whatever they were helicopters over apartment buildings in Chicago?
I mean, that's just sad dick energy cosplayers wanting to play G.I. Joe who never got a chance to and take it out on people that they hate because they're racist.
That's it.
There's also in Broadview, the Broadview police in Chicago have opened an investigation into ICE making fake 911 calls.
Yeah.
Like an ICE officer calling 911 saying somebody was tampering with the gate at the ICE facility, but literally it was just a CBS News Chicago reporter with a camera and another person there, and nobody was touching anything. And so that's taking away from emergency services for people who might actually need 911. And then, we've got the right-wing guy, Nick Sorter, 27-year-old from D.C., arrested in Portland for starting fights. And then the DOJ is like, all right, we're going to investigate. But not him. They're going to investigate the Portland Police Department for arresting him. Like, it's all gone off the deep end. So we're going to keep an eye on all of this for you.
Yeah. I know it's a lot for people to consume, but I think you really need to be aware of what's going on. So when it does happen in your community, that you are aware, because it's not if, it's when.
Yeah, for real. All right, everybody, we've got more news, including some breaking news, at least as of the recording of this podcast, about zero probable cause found to indict New York Attorney General Leticia James on mortgage fraud, which we've been following. He's trying to go after everybody for mortgage fraud when he is the mortgage fraud king. And so we'll talk a little bit about that, which is going to make a prosecution extra hard, just like Comey. But we have to take a break, so everybody stick around. We'll be right back.
All right, everybody, welcome back. All right, so like we just said, we have some breaking news about the criminal investigation into New York Attorney General Leticia James, and this is from MSNBC. A top prosecutor in Virginia has informed colleagues she plans to decline to seek charges against New York Attorney General Leticia James, resisting intense pressure from President Donald Trump, according to two people familiar with this discussion.
Yeah. So Elizabeth Yuzi, she oversees the major criminal prosecutions in Norfolk in the Eastern District of Virginia. She has confided to coworkers that she sees no probable cause to believe Leticia James engaged in mortgage fraud. That's according to the two sources, spoke to MSNBC. Yuzi plans to present her conclusion, her declination to prosecute, to the new interim U.S. Attorney Lindsay Halligan, who might not even be there legally, but she's going to do that in the coming weeks. Well, you should do it tomorrow, Elizabeth, because I don't think you're going to be working there for very long. Trump installed Halligan, as we know, after he announced 2 weeks ago that he would fire the first acting U.S. attorney because Eric Siebert refused to seek charges against Jim Comey and Leticia James and probably other enemies of the president too.
The list goes on and on, right?
So he was forced to resign. He was out September 19th after learning he was going to be fired.
Trump then named Halligan a White House aide and insurance lawyer with no prosecutorial experience, who had previously been his personal defense lawyer, to replace Siebert. A few days after taking the reins in the Eastern District, Halligan sought and won the indictment of Comey on charges of lying to Congress and obstructing a congressional proceeding, a case that Siebert and office colleagues consider too weak to charge him. This, obviously we've talked about this a lot, but this is it already makes them look bad and look weak, but they're in for a fight with this one.
Oh yeah, but the point is not to win at trial. The point is to put Comey in handcuffs and do a perp walk. Yeah, that's it. Or Leticia James, or Adam Schiff, or Lisa Cook, Federal Reserve Board governor.
Yeah.
Prosecutors in the Eastern District are now bracing for Yuzi to be fired for her own resistance to try a case that many lawyers have said lacks sufficient evidence, according to the two people. That's right, Elizabeth Yuzi, if you're listening, write that declination memo and give it to Lindsay Halligan today, if you can. Yesterday is even better. Trump has publicly called on the Justice Department to criminally prosecute Leticia James. Despite the conclusion of career prosecutors, they can't prove she lied or intended to lie on a mortgage application for her niece's home. In a Truth Social post Saturday, Trump called Leticia James scum, saying she would be removed as New York Attorney General, and pointed to what he called her witch hunt against him, right? Okay.
I just wish that when he does that, like, people always have these real dignified responses and they'll respond, well, the president clearly is upset. I'd be like, I would say, shut up, you SOB, but like not SOB, but it would be full. But the Justice Department declined to comment, of course. The White House did not immediately respond to a request for comment. I'm sure all you have to do is go to Truth Social and look at their rants. Career prosecutors in the Eastern District of Virginia also feared their colleagues will be pressured to seek an indictment against Leticia James or risk being fired. The two people familiar with the discussion said. Halligan has been closely monitoring progress on the cases, these people said.
Yep. Now, such preliminary charging decisions are normally recommended by line prosecutors who would be sifting through the facts in the investigation and would report to UC. But in the politically charged case of Leticia James, the senior supervisor in the Norfolk office has taken measures to try to protect her staff who've been handling the case before a grand jury. So she wants to take the hit and not her line prosecutors.
And not
that's
her
pretty
staff.
That's pretty baller.
Yeah, it is. The supervisor clearly is doing the right and ethical thing by refusing to bend her legal conclusions to fit the president's desire for political retribution. This is from Randall Eliason, the former top public corruption prosecutor at the U.S. Attorney's Office for the District of Columbia and a retired law professor.
Yeah, Randall Eliason's great.
But he said, it is tragic that career prosecutors are being forced to choose between honoring their oaths and risk their livelihood and forced out by the president's politicization of the Justice Department.
Yeah. And on Friday, the top national security prosecutor in Virginia's Eastern District railed against DOJ political appointees for carrying out Trump's directives rather than fulfilling their oath to follow the facts and the law wherever they lead, free from fear or favor and unhindered by political interference. That prosecutor, Michael Ben-Ari, or Ben Arai, I'm not sure how you say it, had been fired after a Trump ally questioned his loyalty to Trump in a social media post. His decades of service just gone because some social media troll was
social
like,
media post, ridiculous.
Ben Ari wrote in a letter, in recent months, the political leadership of the department have violated these principles, jeopardizing our national security and making American citizens less safe.
So sad. James successfully sued Trump and his real estate company, the Trump Organization, for what she said was a series of fraudulent business practices, securing a 2023 civil fraud verdict and a $454 million penalty from a New York judge. The verdict was upheld on appeal, but the monetary penalty was thrown out 2 months ago in August after a court deemed it excessive. Trump proclaimed, of course, total victory after the appellate court's decision, while James vowed to appeal.
Yeah, the allegation that James engaged in mortgage fraud stems from a May criminal referral made by Trump ally Bill Pulte of Pulte Homes, whom the president appointed as director of the Federal Housing Finance Agency. He cited, quote, media reports, unquote, suggesting that James had falsely claimed a Norfolk, Virginia home where her niece resides as her primary residence to secure a lower mortgage rate.
James's attorney, Abby Lowell, has said James made no such claim in helping her niece seek a loan for a home and submitted evidence to Attorney General Pam Bondi from James's own writing at the time. Lowell noted that a power of attorney form had mistakenly listed the house as a primary residence, but that James herself checked no on the loan application when asked if the house was her primary home. In addition, according to Lowell, James also sent an email to her mortgage broker stating the house will not be my primary residence. So they're just going out of their way to show there's no evidence here.
Yeah, they're doing a mistake on a form instead of what she actually intended and what the loan actually bared, you know? Now, in a September 20th social media post, Trump called on Pam Bondi to prosecute the alleged crimes of James, former FBI Director Jim Comey, and Senator Adam Schiff. He claimed they were all guilty as hell. That's a lot of evidence for a vindictive and selective prosecution.
They're guilty as
dismiss.
Hell right there, yeah.
The president that's how I used to get out of jury duty. I'd be like, I can pick out guilty people just like that. The president pointed to his 2 impeachments and multiple indictments as baseless. Okay, whatever, dude. So,
but she's definitely going to lose her job.
Yeah, and we'll see if Lindsay Halligan, first of all, tries to get an indictment by herself and signs it by herself, only to find that she doesn't have authority because she was appointed improperly. But the statute of limitations on this hasn't run out like the Jim Comey one has. So
yeah,
we'll see what ends up happening. If there is an indictment, I'm sure they'll try to get another beefy FBI agent in full kit to do a perp walk, like they wanted to do with Jim Comey. Right. Well, or be fired.
Or be fired, excuse me. Refuse and then be fired for doing so.
So we'll keep an eye on all of that for you. But there's no way that this goes anywhere in court or with a jury. I don't even think it'll get past a grand jury.
Yeah. No
but
chance.
you never know.
Crazier things have
you
happened,
never know
right?
what kind of BS Lindsay Halligan could tell a grand jury, a federal grand jury. All right. We have more to get to, including we're going to give you an update on what's going on with the RICO case against Trump and 17 others in Fulton County, Georgia, the one that Fani Willis was disqualified from. So stick around. We'll be right back. All right, everybody, welcome back. Let's shift gears for some updates in Fulton County. First, we told you last week that the Department of Justice had issued subpoenas for Fani Willis's travel records, but not from when she was prosecuting the case, from 2024. So I have no idea why that's relevant, but
it's not.
They're probably just on a fishing expedition. She has been disqualified from the case against Trump and 17 others for the 2020 election malfeasance, meaning the case would have to be assigned to a different prosecutor. Judge McAfee said in a filing that the agency had 14 days to pick a new prosecutor, and that state agency that's tasked with assigning someone to take over the RICO case, they actually filed and said, we need more than 14 days. They said to the court, the Prosecuting Attorneys Council of Georgia, that's the state agency, will diligently fulfill its responsibility under Georgia law to appoint a district attorney pro tempore to take over the cases due to the disqualification of the district attorney's office of the Atlanta Judicial District. Currently, this matter is one of 21 that are currently awaiting appointment by the undersigned, by the state agency. To date, in 2025, 448 criminal matters have been referred due to a conflict of interest or recusal by the elected prosecutor. Each case requires individual review and assignment due to the unique nature of conflicts and the facts and circumstances of the particular case.
So basically, we got a crap ton of work to do.
Yeah, we got 448 lying in front of you, bro. We don't 14 days. Come on.
Take a number. We'll get back to you. They go on to say the law requires that the executive director of the prosecuting attorney's council request the services of and thereafter appoint a district attorney, a solicitor general, a retired prosecuting attorney as provided in Code Section 151830, or an attorney employed by the Department of Law, or designate an attorney from the prosecuting attorney councils of the state of Georgia, or appoint a competent attorney to act as a district attorney pro tempore in the place of the district attorney.
So that's the
just
law.
A lot of, that's the law.
The law. That's what says. That's what the state attorney's council, prosecuting attorney's council, can pick from this list of qualified individuals to take over cases that have been referred to them to reassign because of conflicts of interest. They go on to say, due to the complexity of this case and the vast personnel and resources required to handle a case of this nature, it will require time to seek a district attorney pro tempore willing to take on this prosecution. And moreover, based on a holding in the State v. Roman case in 2024, additional inquiries must be made that could potentially disqualify likely candidates from the list of attorneys found in the statute. So, because this is a political case that involves a lot of political people, there's a lot of folks on that list in the law that we're allowed to pick from that we won't be allowed to pick from. So this is very complicated. Until disqualification, only members of the DA's office for the Atlanta Judicial Circuit had access to this case file. The undersigned, us, we have requested that physical file to be provided to him to facilitate a seamless period of transition from the disqualified office to the new prosecutor's office. Now, that right there says that they're looking to give it to a new prosecutor's office. Based on information provided by the Atlanta Judicial Circuit, due to the voluminous size of this case file, the prosecuting attorney's council does not expect to review the full case file in the instant case for about 4 weeks. We need 4 weeks to review it. Without having the file, the undersigned can't intelligently answer questions of anyone requested to take the appointment or to do his own diligence in finding a prosecutor who's not encumbered by a significant appearance of impropriety.
Yeah, so based on the foregoing, the state respectfully requests the court reconsider its order to provide the undersigned no less than 90 days from the receipt of this case file to appoint a conflict prosecutor in this matter. The undersigned will provide notice to the court when the case file is received and participate in any status conference or respond to any inquiry from the court as to updates of the status of finding a district attorney pro tempore.
So we need the case file, which is massive, and we're going to let you know when we get it, and we want 90 days from the date we get the case file to review the entire case file and then go through the list of people who were allowed to appoint to take over this case and make sure that there's no conflicts of interest because of this massive case file and the fact that a lot of these people are political in nature. And then, so we need 14 days ain't going to cut it. And Judge McAfee is pretty reasonable. So I don't know why he wouldn't grant this. Maybe he won't give a full 90 days, but we'll keep you posted. And that filing is signed by Peter Skandalakis. That's the guy who took over the prosecution of Senator Burt Jones, one of the fake electors. Fani Willis was disqualified from investigating him because she threw a fundraiser for his political opponent. So that's a reasonable conflict of interest.
Yeah.
Now, Skandalakis.
And that was from Fani.
Yeah. Now, Skandalakis, for a year, sat on this. And then he's told the court, I'm going to do it myself. I appoint myself instead of handing it off to Cobb County DA or Coffee County DA. And then he just dropped the case. So we'll keep you posted about what happens. But honestly, I don't think this case is long for this world.
Yeah.
But Skandalakis seems to have said, we are working on we're going to find somebody to take over this case. But I wouldn't be surprised if he says, it's me, and then drops the case.
And then drops the case.
Yeah, we'll keep an eye on it for you and let you know. But, there's a lot of problems.
Skandalakis sounds a little scandalous here.
He does, yeah. Sketchy Skandalakis. He puts the scandal in Skandalakis.
Skandalakis.
Man, do you want to go into politics with a name that
Scandal. His name is Scandal.
Yeah,
Scandal.
You can't.
Don't forget the Lacus.
Scandal.
Don't forget. Hey, Representative Scandal. No, you forgot the Lacus. Don't forget the Lacus.
It's like Lev Parnas and Igor Fruman calling their business fraud guarantee, right? And Lev was like, well, I've been in trouble for fraud so much, I figured if I just called my business fraud guarantee, nobody would make the connection. It's so funny. All right, we got 2 more stories for you, including a Rudy adjacent story and something with the Capitol rioters who've been pardoned. But we have to take this one last quick break, so everybody stick around. We'll be right back. All right, everybody, welcome back. 2 more stories for you, and the first comes from CBS. A group of Democratic senators is asking the Justice Department to help prevent convicted U.S. Capitol rioters from being reimbursed by taxpayers for court-ordered fines. In a letter dated Monday, that's a week and a half ago, and obtained by CBS News, the top Democrats on the Senate Rules and the Senate Judiciary Committee have asked the Justice Department to oppose efforts. They're asking Pam Bondi to oppose efforts to seek repayments by those convicted in the January 6th riots. Quote, these criminals are apparently demanding taxpayer compensation, not only to refund court-ordered restitution, but to cover damages they caused to the Capitol building, but also to compensate them for having to face legal consequences for their actions.
Unbelievable. Well, I mean, it is believable, but in a request submitted to a D.C. federal judge on Monday, riot defendant Richard Barrett cited Donald Trump's pardon and Barnett's appeal of his conviction as part of a justification for the reimbursement of $2,455 in restitution and court assessment payments. Barnett's argument in part cited prior cases of pardoned defendants. It said the Justice Department's decision in February to vacate his case wipes the slate clean and restores to the defendant both the presumption of innocence and the right to be paid money based on a now vacated conviction. False. And these folks were fined. The fines were so low. And now they want their pittance back. Like they didn't even pay for a tenth of the damage they did to the Capitol with this restitution, and now they want it back. So the taxpayers are on the hook for what Trump supporters did to the Capitol on the 6th. Barnett was found guilty by a D.C. grand jury in 2023. That should just say jury, not grand jury. After prosecutors successfully argued he was on the front lines of the mob and was photographed with his feet on the desk. This is that guy in Pelosi's office with his feet on the desk guy, yeah. Last month, District Judge John Bates ordered the reimbursement of restitution payments to January 6 defendant Yvonne St. Cyr, who was found guilty of obstructing law enforcement and other offenses as part of the Capitol riot. This is the one judge out of the many judges. Out of all of them that have had that argument. Mm-hmm. Yeah. The Democratic senator's letter to the Justice Department, led by Senator Alex Padilla of California, who is the vice chair of the Senate Rules Committee, said the efforts for repayments are part of a broader effort to rewrite the history of the Capitol insurrection. The letter called it, quote, an attempt to rewrite history and paint themselves as sympathetic victims. Quote, misusing taxpayer funds to financially reward those insurrectionists because they were prosecuted and convicted for violent and destructive acts is actually unthinkable. Yeah, I want to go back to his statement when he said that it wipes the slate clean and restores to the defendant both the presumption of innocence and the right. The presumption of innocence, no, that's not what a pardon does. It just forgives you for your crime. It does not vacate any type of or set aside or whatever term you want to use. But miss me with that bull crap, man. But speaking of bull crap, Rudy time. Rudy. The only place you can find this story is on right-wing media, including Fox and the New York Post. So, nobody here, listens to that or reads that. So we thought we'd let you know about it. Rudy Giuliani's aides and allies have thrown themselves behind Andrew Cuomo instead of Republican nominee Curtis Sliwa in the race for the New York City mayor. This is according to reports. Joe Lhota, Giuliani's former deputy mayor, and the GOP's 2013 mayoral candidate, confirmed to the New York Post Thursday he is firmly in Cuomo's camp. Lhota, who later served as Cuomo's MTA chairman, and has since changed his party affiliation to Democrat, framed the choice bluntly.
It's interesting that all these MAGA people are backing Cuomo instead of the Republican.
Interesting, right? Is he not MAGA enough?
No. Loda said, it's a choice between a proven manager, a socialist, and a Fruit Loop. That is what Loda said. Quote, of course I'm going with Cuomo. Anthony Carbonetti, Rudy Giuliani's former chief of staff and senior advisor to his 2008 presidential campaign, real winner here, Anthony, echoed Loda's statement. While praising Sliwa as a great New Yorker, Carbonetti said the math simply isn't there for him to win the race. And instead, they warned Sliwa risks becoming a spoiler. Oh, that's too bad.
Poor baby. Former U.S. Attorney General Mike Mukasey, who served under George W. Bush and is a longtime Giuliani ally, also endorsed Cuomo in an op-ed published by the Staten Island Advance. Our city should not be put at risk of irreversible damage, which it would be if Mondani is elected, he wrote, adding that Cuomo is the most viable alternative. Mayor Eric Adams has already stunned the political world by announcing he will not seek re-election. Donald Trump has also publicly dismissed Sliwa's chances. Rudy Giuliani, now 81 and still a fixture in the GOP politics, has yet to make an endorsement.
Yeah. Fox News reluctantly said at the very end of this article that polling has Mamdani up by 20 points.
I'm sure they should have led with that, huh?
Yeah, bury the lead, Fox. Why don't you?
Way to bury the lead. And you know why these guys are endorsing Cuomo? Because, yes, Sliwa has no chance of winning. And by them endorsing Cuomo, I think it gives them favor to ask for some type of position in Cuomo's administration should he win or something like that. Or just find favor. You want to find favor in the mayor of New York City, right? And it's obviously they're not going to endorse Mondani. Of course not. They're not going to do that.
No, they want to beat Mamdani, and they think the best way to do that is to get Sliwa out of the race because he'll siphon votes from Cuomo. But they also agree with Cuomo on a lot of stuff, and Cuomo is a pretty pro-Trump dude. So
yeah,
he's a very MAGA. I wouldn't even call him a Democrat.
Opportunist?
They both rape women, so they have that in common, I guess.
They have that in common.
Or at least sexually assaulted them. Anyway, it's not surprising at all that anybody would come out that's a Republican or a MAGA Trump supporter. Trump himself tried to get Sliwa to drop out of the race. I'm sure there's still a lot of pressure. Sliwa, of course, said many very important people have offered me millions of dollars to drop out. But we
covered that last episode. We covered that.
And if one more person does it, I'm going to expose.
I'm going to release
everyone.
Names.
Yeah.
He's going to release their names or something.
Come on, release the names.
Release the names. Release the Kraken.
Yes. Release the bats. Release them now. So, I mean, Mamdani's just walking away with this. But again, it's a different, primaries are different from general elections. Primary voters are a different beast than general election voters. But Mamdani's on the ground talking to voters, finding out what they want. So, and
he's running a hell of a campaign so far. He's run a very, very good campaign. So it's hard not to, at least if, I guess people being on the fence, the word socialist scares the crap out of a lot of people. It's scary. I get it. It's sure. But he has definitely earned at least sit down and listen to what he's about. Yeah. And I think he's done a very good job with that. So.
He really, really has. And again, I've said it a million times. You don't agree with his policies or not. I mean, I do. But if you don't, you can at least appreciate the amazing campaign that he's run and run your campaign the same way. And it's a very simple way to run a campaign. And it should be the way everybody runs a campaign. Find out what your constituents want. Find out what matters to them and run on that. Because you're representing them, not the big interest dollars that are coming in.
Like he didn't pull this out his ass, or maybe he did. And you know what? But even if he did pull it out his ass, people like it, and people are like, yes, I agree with it. So
it's affordability. It's the number one thing on people's minds, most people's minds. I've got other stuff going on in my head about democracy crumbling and stuff, but that's not the number one issue right now, according to polls. I'm not saying it shouldn't be. I think it should be, but the thing is to go around to the voters, find out what they want, And because you're representing them, you're not representing the big money people who send you money. And that's the message that needs to happen right now. It's the top versus the bottom, not the left versus the right.
And that's when you could say the same thing about the Epstein files.
Yep. And billionaires do not give a shit. Billionaires
Yep.
don't give a shit about the difference between a liberal and a progressive and a leftist and a Democrat and a democratic socialist. And they don't give a shit. You are human capital stock to them. You are a bit of labor to make shit wages to make them rich. And so that they can take your money for your hard earned entitlements and or benefits and cut them so that they can give themselves tax breaks. That's all you are.
All
you are dollar signs to them.
That's it. And the only way I guess we get rid of it is, well, first of all, elect people that will go after them and don't need them as their buddies or campaign donors and funders. I think that's how we get it. You elect people that don't need them. Unfortunately,
and we can beat the money. We can beat it. We did it in Wisconsin. We did it. I mean,
but we have to continually do it.
Yeah.
We have to continually do it so we can actually make laws against it. Oh, we tried to with Citizens United. Oh, yeah.
Well, Citizens United has to be overturned, but there are 6 ring wraiths who sit at the Supreme Court right now who will probably gut.
What'd you call them? What? Ring what?
Ring wraiths?
Ring wraiths. Yes, yes. I thought that's what you said. You are 100% correct.
Yeah, King of Angmar, Justice Roberts and his 5 ring wraiths. Dementors is another good thing to call them.
Yes, Dementors and ring wraiths. I like that.
Just 6 people who basically control everything.
And who clearly hate this country.
Installed by billionaires.
Or hate peasants. Or hate us peasants.
Yeah, we smell like loose change. Fuck us. All right, everybody. Thank you so very much for listening. Thanks to our new patrons. Welcome, Cliff, and everybody else who signed up. You can sign up again, patreon.com. /aisle45pod. We really appreciate you. But this podcast is always free, so thank you so much for listening. And we're going to be back in your ears next week. Do a little bit of a bonus for patrons on the weekends, and we'll be telling you about the next Zoom happy hour call that you can join and ask us whatever questions you want. And I'm trying to think of what else.
I would say something you don't want to miss.
Oh, those are so fun.
They're so fun.
Talks of moving it to Thursday evening, by the way, instead of Friday. But we'll keep everyone posted. Don't worry. You'll get plenty of notice.
I am fine with drinking any day that ends in Y. So.
There you go. But, we want to have Dana on more from the Daily Beans.
Yeah,
and she tends to travel on Fridays. So we're trying to figure out a way to be able to get more of the hosts from MSW Media on those calls so that patrons can ask us questions. All right, everybody. That is the show. We'll see you next week. Do you have any final thoughts?
No, just hang in there, everybody. It's tough. We knew it would be, but keep on hanging.
Yes, keep on hanging. We'll be here with you. We have each other. We have each other. All right.
We do.
Everybody, see you next week. I'm Allison Gill.
Harry Dunn. Thanks, y'all. All right.
I'm always bad at saying goodbye. I always say goodbye like 20 times.
Goodbye.
You hang up first.
Goodbye.
No, you hang up.
No, you hang up. No, you hang up.
You hang up first.
Oh, man.
Cleanup on Aisle 45 is written, researched, and produced by Allison Gill, with editing by Molly Hockey. Our art and logo design are by Joelle Reeder and Moxie Design Studios, and our music is composed and performed by Adam Orr. Cleanup on Aisle 45 is a proud member of the MSW Media Network, a collection of creator-owned podcasts dedicated to news, politics, and justice. For more information, visit mswmedia.com. MSW Media.